everyone, in this video, I'm going to create an end-to-end Power BI project on Superstore Analytics dashboard using the sample Superstore dataset. I'm going to provide you this dataset in the description so that you can build a dashboard along with me. In this video, we will learn how to create a Power BI report from scratch, starting from the data transformation technique to data modeling concept and creating calculated measures and calculated tables and then creating visualizations. We will also see how to remove clutters from your chart. We will also learn how to create a slicer panel using bookmarking techniques so you can filter it from here and you can close the pane. Let's now look at the dataset. So here is our dataset. Here we have the orders table. With these columns, we have people sheet, which we will not in creating this dashboard. This is the returns table. This says which products were returned. We will use orders and returns tables in this video. Let's look at the 5 questions that we will be solving in this dashboard. Questions 1, show the metrics. Metrics are sales, profit percentage of returned orders, and the percentage change versus previous year. This we will cover using the KPI visual. Second questions is compare sales performance versus previous year over time. Third question is to determine the most profitable product and most loss-making product. Question 4 is to find the places where most of the profit is happening. Fifth and final question is to show the sales by segment. So these are the questions that we are going to answer with our report. So let's get started. We will move to the Power BI report. Let's import the tables that we require in our report. I will click on Excel workbook. Here we have the sample Superstore dataset. I'm going to load it. This is the order table that we require. We don't need people table, so I'm going to ignore it. Returns, let's see the returns. We do need returns table for our dashboard. Let's go to transform data. In the returns table. First of all, let's rename it to returns. We'll have to promote the headers here, use first row as headers, and it will promote the headers. Now here we can see in the returns table, there are 2 columns, returned and order ID. In the returned column, there's a single value yes, which is saying that these products are returned. We can perform our analysis even without this data, as the order ID column has the list of order IDs that were returned. Here in data transformation technique, the first thing that we have to keep in mind is we will only import those columns that are required to build the visual or that are required to answer the questions in our report. Focus on importing the least number of columns in our report. Now let's go to orders table. Here we have many columns, but we can see from our requirement, we don't need all these columns. Now let's move to the questions to see what all columns we should keep. For question 1, to build the metrics, we need sales, profit, and returned orders, or the order ID. For question 2, to analyze sales performance versus previous year over time, we need date column. So order date is required. Question 3 talks about profitable product. So we require the columns which deal with product. Question 4 talks about places. So we need the geographical columns. And for question 5, for sales by segment, we require the segment column. Now that we understand which all columns we need, let's move to the Power Query. And here we'll choose column. Let's unselect all the columns. Now let's select those columns that are required for our report. We will select order ID, order date. Though customer name is not required, we can still choose customer name for slicing the report. Segment, country or region, city, state and province, postal code, region, category, subcategory, product name are required. Now click on OK, so it will remove the other columns. Now we have only those columns that we require in our report. This table looks fine. Data types looks fine. I think we don't need to perform any more transformation. So now let's move ahead. Let's click on close and apply. It's loading these two tables after transformation. Let's go to the model view and let's build our data model. So from here we can see these two tables are there loaded. These are the properties. From properties pane, you can click on pin related fields to top of the card. So this basically will show you the related columns on top of the table. Let's close this. This is our orders. We can create a relationship between order ID and let's say return filters the order and click on OK. Next, we'll have to create a date table. It is important to create your own date table in your data model. Why? Because when we don't create a date table in our report, Power BI doesn't recognize any table as date table. Whatever date columns are present in the dimension table, it will create those many tables in the backend and it is going to slow your report. So this is one reason we should create our own date table. And also, the second reason is whenever you are trying to create measure using time function, it requires a date table to avoid any confusion. From here, let's click on new table. Let's create this date table. I'm going to create add column under this add column and let's add calendar function. The calendar function needs start date and end date. So for the start date, we can take minimum of the order date, which is in the fact table. And for the end date, we can take the maximum of the order date. This will create our list of dates. Next, in this column here, we're going to create a monthly date column. I will just say start of month. Here, I will add end of month. So EO month basically returns the end date of a particular month. Here, I'm going to give this date and I will say -1. This function is going to return the end date of the previous month. And when I do +1, it's going to give us the start date of the current month. Now let's close the bracket and our date table is ready. Now let's go to the table view to check the dates. So here in the start of month, let's change the data type to date. And we can also change the format maybe. Let's say month and year we want to show. So this date also we can change to date. And we can mark this table. We can go to table tools. We can mark this table as a date table. So here we can see mark as date table, turned off. We can turn on and choose the date column. This is our date column validated successfully. Click on save. Now Power BI recognizes this table as a date table. Let's go to the modeling view and let's create a connection. We can create a relationship between this date and the order date. This is the order date. Let's create a connection with this date. So our relationship has been created. Next, we'll have to create calculated measures. Important reminder here, we should always have a measure table where we store all the measures in our data model. That way, it's very efficient to find the measures. Let's go to enter data and we can rename this table as key measures and just load. You can see this key measure table has been created and here you can see column 1 is there, which is not needed actually. So what we can do is right click and create one measure and let's call it sales. This will be sum of sales and let's enter. So this is our first measure. Simultaneously, let's format it as well. This is created. I cannot see the format option here. So let's go to the table view and this is our first measure that we have created. Let's add this dollar value in the formatting and the currency should have the 2 decimal places. Great, our first sales measure is created. Now we can delete this column 1 from this key measure table. After we delete this column 1 from this table will be recognized as a measure table and this will be moved to the top of the table. See what happens when we delete this column. So once you delete, see it's moved to the top and it recognizes as a measure table. Now we can create all our measures in this table only. So let's go to new measure and let's create measure for profit, which will be sum of profit. Here also, I'm going to give the same format, dollar, and the currency format will be 2.0. Let's revisit our questions and to see which all measures we require. So far, we have created sales and profit. Next is percentage of returned orders. So let's create that. Let's click on new measure and let's say percentage of returned orders. So this basically will have to calculate our orders and return total orders and then divide returned orders count and total orders count. Let's create variable for total orders. And this will be distinct count of the order IDs. This will give us the total number of orders. Next, let's calculate the returned orders. Here, we will calculate distinct count from the returns table, and here we can see this order ID from the returns table. So if we do the distinct count from here, it will give us the returned orders. Next, we are going to create a variable for the percentage, which will be division. We will just divide the returned orders by the total orders, and this will give us the percentage of returned orders. So in return, I'm going to return this percentage variable, and let's click on enter. And in the formatting, we can just make it percentage. Our three required measures are created. Similarly, for question 2, we're required to show the percentage change versus previous year. We need to show the percentage change from the last year. And for that, we'll have to create the last year measures as well. We'll again go to new measure and say sales PY. And here I will say calculate sales same period last year. And from here, we'll in this same period last year, we'll give this date from the date table and close the bracket. So this will calculate the sales for the last year. And here also we will change the format to dollar and currency to 2. For speed up the measure creation, we can copy this measure and we can do new measure. I will just paste it here. Now we have to calculate the profit PY. Let's select these sales and do Ctrl+Shift+L so it will select all the sales value. And from here, we can directly replace it to profit and click on enter. So this will calculate the profit for last year. Again, we can do a new measure, and here we will again select sales and Ctrl+Shift+L. Here we will replace it with percentage returned orders. If I click on enter, it will calculate the percentage returned orders, and we can say percentage. We have created the previous year values. Now let's create the percentage change. So for that, we'll have to create new measure again, and we will say versus PY for sales. So here, I will just divide. The formula is sales minus previous year, sales divided by previous year sales. I will say sales minus sales PY, and then I will divide it by sales PY. This will give the percentage change, and we have calculated it for sales. So let's copy this, and the format will be just percentage. Create a new measure for profit, percentage change. We will simply replace this sale with Ctrl+Shift+L and say profit. This is the measure for percentage change of profit. Let's create a new measure, and this is the last measure. So we can again do the same thing. But for percentage return orders, it is already in percentage. To calculate the percentage change for a percentage value, we'll have to just subtract. Instead of doing divide, we'll just have to subtract. Returned orders, we will just say percentage returned orders minus percentage returned orders PY. So this will give the percentage change for percentage returned orders. We have created all the required measures that is required in our report. Now we are going to do one more last thing in the data modeling. We are going to do this last thing to organize these measures so we can easily find out the measure. So let's go to the modeling view, and from here I will select profit sales and another measure, that is returned orders. And in the properties pane I will say let's store these three measures in the metric folder. Again, for previous year, we need to select profit PY, sales PY, and percentage return PY, and save it as PY measures or simply PY. Store these percentage change measures in the versus PY measure folder. So now go to report view. We can see if we can easily find out the measures from here if we are looking for previous year metrics or the percentage change metrics. This is the efficient way to store the measures in our measure table. With this, our data modeling is complete. Now we are left with our report creation. Let's go to our requirement document. Here we can see, first of all, we have to create the metrics for sales profit and percentage returned orders and show the percentage change values. For this, we'll take the new card visualization. And in the new card visualization, I'm going to take the metrics, that is sales, then profit, and then percentage returned orders. Let's open the format pane. First, we all can go to callout values and we can decrease the value to 18 and make the font to Sigo UI semi-bold. Callout value is fine. Now let's go to reference label. In the reference label, in the sales series, we can select the series. We have three measures. We have these three measures showing. Since it's selected in the sales, we can add. We'll have to pick this up and we can add here. So sales PY is added. We will add one more versus PY measure for sales. Again, let's go to profit, and in the profit, we will add profit PY and versus PY profit. We will go to returned orders and do the same thing. Now let's do some formatting here. Let's go to the sales first, and in the select label, first we want to rename this sales PY to PY. So sales PY, this title we can change. It's saying content field name. Now we can say select custom here and we can change this to PY and add some spaces. In the select label, we can change it to versus PY. And so again, I will say custom select and say we just want versus PY and some spaces. We can do the same thing for the other two measures. In the reference label, I don't want this grayish color. Select series, we can select all, and then we can see this divider option, and the background option is enabled. So in the background option, let's select white. Divider, let's say we want a lighter color. So in the cards, we have this border. Remove this border, and these values are very closer to each other. It becomes difficult to read. We can separate this in the tabular format. For that, we can go to layout style. We need to choose currently it's sentence, so that's why it's showing in the sentence. We need to choose this tabular. Now it's separated and it's clearly visible. Let's add the padding as well. So search for padding and let's select a wide padding. I think this looks good. Let's go to the requirement document, and here we have some color codes for the background and the positive and negative colors. I have these colors. Let's add it to the background with 40% transparency. Go to canvas background here. I will add the color and I will make it 40% transparent. And let's add a title. So I will insert a shape, rectangular shape, and I will change the fill to white, and I will turn off the border. Align this to the top, and let's turn on the text and say Superstore. Let's change the font color to black, and let's increase the size to, let's say, 20. And make it semi-bold. And align it to the left and add the padding to 25. It looks good, I guess. Next, let's come to the KPI. And here, I will remove the background. So go to size and style and just remove the background. Now we can see this is separated and clearly visible. Reduce the size a bit. This is fine, I guess. The KPI is not done yet. What we can do is we can add a conditional formatting to this versus PY. So this percentage change, we can add a rule and add a conditional formatting. So if it is increasing, if it is good for us, we can mark it as green. Decreasing value shows negative, so we can mark it as red. So for positive, we have our green color. We can copy this color, add the conditional formatting, so we can go to reference label again. In the reference label, let's select sales. In the select label, let's say selected versus PY. So let's select this versus PY label and let's go to value. In this value section, in the font color, add the conditional formatting. I want a rule instead of gradient, and let's change this field as well to this percentage versus PY sales. And let's add two rules. If it is greater than minimum, less than 0, and second will be if it is greater than 0 and less than maximum. So this will be red. Here we can choose a green color, a dark green color, and copy this green color. Click on OK, and let's make it bold. This is not visible clearly. Let's make this Sego UI bold. Yeah, this looks fine. And similarly, I will do it for profit and percentage returned orders. You can see this negative is marked as red. One more thing to note, percentage returned orders. If the percentage of returned orders is decreasing, it is good for the company because their number of returned orders are decreasing. So we will mark this negative value as green and the positive value as red. We can go to the conditional formatting again and we can reverse the color order and click on OK. So now it is green. The negative returned orders are good for us. So lesser the returned orders, the better for us. With that, our KPI is done. Let's look at the next question. We'll have to create a sales performance chart and compare it with the previous year. So for this, I will use a line chart and I will use sales measure, last year's sales measure. And in the x-axis, we need this monthly start date. This is fine. Let's do some formatting here. I will double click and change the title to Sales versus Previous Year Over Time. This is our title. Let's hover over Add Legend so that the formatting pane will open, and let's turn off the title of the legend. And in the legend option, let's change the position of the legend to top right. Personally, I prefer the legends to be in the top right section. We don't need this x-axis and y-axis titles because we can see that this is sales from the title itself, so it's already identifiable. So let's turn off this title. Again, go to this x-axis title. We can see the date, so we don't need this title. We can see these grid lines, which is not looking good. So I will go to the grid line and here I will choose solid. Here we don't need vertical grid lines, so I will turn off the grid lines. Now see, our chart looks little cleaner. We can search for padding and add some padding in it. So I will add 20 padding on each side. So if you see, after adding this padding, our chart is looking more clear. There is a challenge here though. We cannot identify which is previous year, which is current year at the first glance. So I'll show you how to handle this. So let's click on it and go to lines in the formatting pane. And I will select sales first and add our color. We have our own color. We are going to add this positive color here. This is the sales color. And for sales previous year, we'll select a lighter gray color. Select this 30% darker in the line style, dotted or dashed. I prefer dashed. Now anybody will see this will know that the primary metric is the sales there, which is in green color, and the secondary metric is the dashed line. These small changes in your chart can improve the readability and the readability is the most important factor when you create a dashboard. I have done the formatting and I'm going to use this here, and let's align it little. Let's see the next question. Next question is to determine the most profitable product and the most loss-making product. For the most loss-making product and the most profit-making product, we can create a bar chart or the column chart. I will just copy this chart because we have done all these formattings and we don't have to do it all over again. I will just copy, cut, paste this chart and I will change it to a bar chart. And here, I don't need this month. From orders, we want category and subcategory. So I will choose category. And let's add the subcategory as well. And in the y-axis, we want profit instead of sales. So let's choose profit. We can add vertical grid lines, which will separate the categories. Currently, we are not able to see under furniture what all categories are there. We can enable the grid line. So we can go to grid line and enable the vertical grid line here. And I will choose solid. See this segregation. So this table comes under furniture. And appliances comes under office supplies. So these are the minor changes that you should keep in mind. Let's add a rule to this color. Let's add a gradient and it will be profit. The key measure is going to be this profit. And in the lowest value, I will say this red color. And in the highest value, I will choose the green color, which we have been using. So let's copy the green color from here again, and I will add it here. Here in the middle color, let's change with something better. I will add a middle color option as well. And here, I will choose this lighter gray. Now, the most profitable one will be the greener ones, and the most loss-making ones will be the red ones, and the average ones will be the gray ones. So let's click on OK and see the change. After adding this conditional formatting, we can easily identify this. This product, that is technology copiers, is the most profitable product, and this tables is the most loss-making product. See the power of conditional formatting. Let's change this title, Profit by Product. Let's align this little. I think it's fine. So we have answered our third question as well. Let's see the fourth one. Find out the places where most of the profit is happening. So here we will create a map. So again, I will just copy paste this chart. I will make it a shape map. And here I will remove this legend. Here we want by profit. So let's add the profit and remove this tooltip. Let's add it. So we have added the profit and the color saturation. And in the location, we are going to add the state or province. Let's search state or province. We can change the map settings as well. Here you see map type is USA state. Since we have the states from the USA, that's why we have used this. Else you'll have to use something different. I will close this map settings and I will go to fill colors. And in the gradient, see, it's already taken the gradient. So in the minimum value, I will choose this lighter gray. And in the maximum value, I will choose the green as we have been doing so far. So let's change the title Profit by State. From this chart, we can easily see that state California is the most profitable state. And here, Texas is the most loss-making state. Let's create one more chart here. Last one is sales by segment. To answer this, let's create a donut chart and we'll add sales instead of profit. And in the legend, we can add segment. Since we have only 3 segments, that's why I have used the donut chart. But if it is more than 3, don't use pie chart or donut chart. That is not preferred. Now, time for us to do some formatting. We are not able to see legend as we have less space. So what I will do is I will just turn off the legend. Detail label, I don't need all this information. I just need the percentage value. So I will just say percentage of total. Let's change the title as well. So this is sales by segment. Now one more thing is left. We should add the conditional formatting to this chart as well. And to add the conditional formatting, If we go to the slices, we see we have three different slices and we don't see any conditional formatting option here. So the questions comes, how do we apply conditional formatting in the pie chart or the donut chart? We will have to have a workaround for this. We can go to a bar chart and here we can add a conditional formatting. So we can go to columns or bars. Let's try with bars. And here we can add the conditional formatting here in this color option. Let's choose gradient. We are working with sales values. So I will select the sales measure. And here we can select that green color which we are using for positive trend. And in the lowest value, we can use this lighter gray color. Click on OK. So far in the bar chart, we have added the conditional formatting. Now what if I switch to donut chart? See, it's automatically added. So this is the way to add the conditional formatting in the pie chart. Increase the inner radius. So I will make it a little thin. Yeah, this is fine. Let's align these visuals. Yeah. So we have answered all the questions in our report. One more thing we can do is we can add slicers. We don't have any spaces to add slicers, so we can add a slicer pane and add bookmarks here. Let's see how we can do that. Let's go to the next page and here let's add the slicer and I will add this customer name and do the formatting. Like make it drop down, add a select all and also add search option from here. What else? I think this is good. Let's create three more slicers. This is customer. This is for country. Let's add third one for, let's say, segments. Let's add one for date and we'll change the styling options. Like we'll make it between and let's increase the space. Let's turn off the slider. Great. We have created these slicers. Now let's create a slicer pane. We will use PowerPoint to create slicer pane. Let's create a new PowerPoint. Let's delete these things and insert icons. Let's say we want a filter icon. So I will use this filter icon and insert it to the report. And also I want to insert the design, so I will use folder. Insert this as well. This folder, I want it in this way. And here, let's right click on this and say format. So in the fill, let's add a gray fill. Line seems to be fine. Let's go to shadows. And in the presets, we can add this outer shadow. Things are ready. Let's just import. I'll right click and save as picture. Save as PNG. I will save panel PG. And this also, I will save as picture. Here, let's import those images. Go to insert image. In the image style, let's say scaling should be fit to make it bigger. On top of it, let's add these slicers at once. Go to background and turn it off. Let's go to value and turn on the background of the values. Let's make it white. Now our 4 slicers are ready. Now let's group all these slicer. Let's write it as filter so that we can recognize this one later. And let's create a group. We'll select all these and right click and say group. Let's insert one shape, this one. This one will be for closing the panel. We can add a color to this. Go to shape style and fill the color. Let's make it white. And let's start with the border. This looks fine to me. Let's add this shape inside this group. Awesome, our slicer panel is ready. We can also create a group for these two. Slicer panel. Copy this slicer pane to this page here and move this to top. Select this slicer pane. I want to create 2 bookmarks. One will be for pane open and one will be for pane close. So let's right click and turn off the data and selected visuals. Select selected visuals. Now we are ready to bookmark. Let's select this slicer pane and select this filter as well. And after selecting these two, let's change the state to be in the pane open state. Let's update the bookmark, and I will turn off the slicer pane group and again select these two and update the pane close bookmarks. The pane close is fine, pane open is fine. That means bookmark is done. Now let's add bookmark names. In this filter image, we'll go to formatting and go to action. Turn on the action, and in the action, type bookmark. And in the bookmark, choose pane open. And in this back shape, pane close. So when we click on that, it should close it. See, if I close it here, we are going back to the pane close state. And if I click here, it will open this and we can filter it from here for any customer, for any date, for any country, and we can close it. We have achieved what we set out for, and now we are at the end of this video. Let's wrap this video here. Hope you've been able to learn something new in this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.